By 1991, the Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx-16 had been soaking up Nintendo's market share for more than a year in America. And the NES's days were clearly numbered in any case. The Super NES would arrive that summer, foregoing backward compatibility in favor of biting Genesis on price and performance. This then was the last hurrah of the NES in the US market. And brother, was 1991 a heck of a last hurrah. G.I. Joe, a real American hero. Oh, it's another one of those, hey, this licensed game is way better than it ought to be releases NES developers did so well back in the day. G.I. Joe does a remarkably good job of adapting the DiC-era cartoons into game form with lots of interesting uses of enemies and playable vehicles. Developer Kid also did a bang-up job with the visuals, and to top it off, you could choose among multiple Joes with different skills and specialties to send into each mission, swapping between 3 soldiers of your preference at leisure. Metal Storm. 1991 saw a lot of cool NES platformers like Shatterhand and Kabuki Quantum Fighter, but none so amazing as Metal Storm. Seemingly a simple run-and-gun action game on the surface, Metal Storm ultimately reveals itself to be something much deeper thanks to its gravity reversing feature. With the press of a button, your mech suit can flip upside down. While short, the game does a great job of making the most of this unconventional mechanic, making for an inventive and memorable experience. Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom. This graphical adventure might have been forgotten amidst the annals of history, but it's been saved by one redeeming factor. It's so weird! All the characters in the game are either fruits or vegetables, and the protagonist is accompanied by a bizarre and infuriatingly unhelpful persimmon named Percy, who has a strange tendency to lose all the things he's supposed to be carrying for you. Sometimes a little gimmick goes a long way. KIWI KRAZE. Better known as the New Zealand Story, this cute little platformer hails from the same place in developer TAITO's heart as Bubble Bobble. It's adorable, but tough, and it never ceases to surprise with the versatility of its game mechanics. You can run and jump, sure, but you can also pick up weapons, hijack a hot air balloon, and more. It's as fun as it is charming. Battletoads. A legendary NES release, Nintendo itself hyped this one to the max for the way developer Rare basically broke the NES hardware over its knee to perform all sorts of feats of technical daring-do. Quite possibly the most gorgeous NES game ever, this blatant Ninja Turtles ripoff was defined by its comical stylings, its incredible graphics, its constantly shifting play design, and its humbling difficulty level. Oh, and also, its rad pause screen music. Tombs and Treasures. An unconventional hybrid of graphical adventure and RPG, Tombs and Treasures saw developer Nihon Falcom branching out from action RPGs and classic console role-playing games to the adventure game genre. But even though Tombs and Treasures resembles Shadowgate or Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom, it still has a lot of RPG DNA in it. The resulting hybrid made for a unique experience on NES. The Adventures of Lolo 3. The biggest and best of the Lolo games by far, this third entry in the series, well, sort of, it's complicated, took HAL's puzzle action adventures to their utmost heights. Lolo and Lala were never really seen again outside of cameos in the Kirby games, and one might argue that's because there was nowhere to go from here but down. GUN-NAC. The long-awaited sequel to classic shooter Xanac, GUN-NAC put a slightly more whimsical spin on things without compromising developer Compile's legacy of fast-paced, challenging, screen-filling shooting action. This would be one of the last big shooters for NES before serious fans and creators of the genre shifted to Turbo CD and Sega Genesis, and it's an impressive swan song. NES Open Tournament Golf. Nintendo's final Mario-centric golf game before Camelot Planning took over and turned the series into a sports RPG, NES Open Tournament Golf was miles beyond the original NES Golf, with better graphics, more interesting courses, and deeper gameplay. Plus, Mario's crazy Stars and Stripes overalls live on through Smash Bros. Rockin' Cats. Capcom never created a sequel to the amazing Bionic Commando back in the NES days, but all was not lost. Atlus filled the bionic hole in our hearts with Rockin' Cats. While not quite as fluid as Bionic Commando and nowhere near as serious, It's a great looking action game that plays well and deserves better than to languish in obscurity. Uncharted Waters. Uncharted Waters looks like another in Koei's long line of historical war simulations, but that's not really true. Sure, it's set in a historical time period and features some real-world names you'll probably recognize from your textbooks, but at heart, it's a straight-up role-playing game, albeit one involving sea trade, which is pretty interesting. Batman: Return of the Joker. As great as Sunsoft's Batman was, Return of the Joker blows it away, with some of the most detailed graphics the NES ever saw and game design that doesn't quite seem to revolve as much around the philosophy of I hate you as much as the original. This was a tour de force of a comic adaptation. And finally, TECMO Super Bowl. TECMO Bowl was fantastic, and TECMO Super Bowl was even better. All the accessibility and fun of its predecessor carried over in fine fettle, but TECMO also managed to wrangle licenses, not only with the NFL, but also with the Players Association. In other words, it was the first console football game to include both real teams and real athletes. Of course, that dates it and makes re-releases basically impossible due to licensing snarls, but it sure was cool at the time, and it's created a fascinating gray market of people selling TECMO Super Bowl ROM hacks that update the rosters to reflect current team lineups. For more rose-tinted reminiscence, stay tuned to usgamer.net. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because it's cool, and so are you.